Is Ethereum going to make transaction fees smaller? Spent like $30,000 in 2021 just on transaction fees, and I'm kind of tired of it, to be honest. After doing some research, I've realized that no, they are not going to make transaction fees cheaper anytime soon, but what they are doing is they're developing the infrastructure to allow this to happen. They're scaling effectively to ultimately move Ethereum to a cheap and fast place. There's been a lot of talk about the Ethereum Merge lately because, of course, they pulled it back. Okay, they pushed it back again. They've been delaying for years, and it's really slow and really expensive. I do understand this. Before you say, Alex, what's the point of making this video? Who cares? Let's move on to something else. Let me make a quick statement. As you can see here, total value locked on all chains. Ethereum has a 55% dominance over everything. There's a lot of money locked up on Ethereum. As you can see here, Ethereum leads the race with total developers. 2,980 developers in 2020, and it just keeps increasing in 2021. They keep a constant dominance over developers in the cryptocurrency space. Also, if you look at how many validators Ethereum has, 300,000 validators. It is probably the most decentralized smart contract platform there is. And of course, the big kahuna, NFTs have been one of the biggest search terms in cryptocurrencies, one of the biggest adoption vehicles, and pretty much every big collection is on the Ethereum mainnet. Although Ethereum is expensive and very, very slow, the network effects are significant. It's one of the biggest reasons why it's held its dominance over a long period of time. From a price appreciation perspective, you guys know I like to buy altcoins. I like to buy things that are a little bit riskier, things that have more of a potential to increase. For example, if you filter by the coins that did the best in the past year, it's usually coins of smaller market cap size. Everybody wants to make as much money as possible. Let's not hide from the truth. But Ethereum moves the entire market. Like the same way we analyze Bitcoin for the price to see where the market's going to go, are we in a bear run or a bull run, is the same way we should be analyzing Ethereum for smart contract platforms. Why don't people think this way? So you might not agree with what Ethereum is doing, but you have to recognize it for what it is. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys the entire scoop on the Ethereum Merge, break down exactly what's going on, unbiased, from an unbiased perspective. I will be laying out all the pros and the cons, all the negatives and the positives of this project. And then I'm going to try to give you guys a conclusion on what it's going to do to the market in the short term, medium, and long. We're going to be speculating, of course. And then at the end of the video, I want to show you some potential opportunities, or where I see some people moving some money to these areas, and some really cool projects, some really cool test projects, and how they could potentially increase by large percentages a very good opportunity for everybody. I'll show towards the end of the video. Keep watching. What's going on, everybody? Alex back with another video. Today we're talking about Ethereum. We have to know what's going on in the merge, try to provide an unbiased perspective. Subscribe to the channel, share this with somebody that needs to know this information. Now, the reason I'm doing this video in the first place is because we have Tim Bako here basically saying that it won't be in June anymore. We're not going to have the merge in June. It will likely be a few months after. There's no firm date. And I know a lot of people are probably asking that question. When it does come out, are we going to get the cheaper transaction fees? This is what we're all looking for. Now, if we look at Ethereum from a long-term perspective, you can see that these hard forks, or these big kind of upgrades to the network, typically stimulate them and make it actually better. Even if it's a hack, I mean, it did pretty well. Now, we do have the sell-off events, the DAO fork. These things, for some reason, it stimulates Ethereum. As you can see from the London hard fork, Berlin hard fork, and Altair hard fork. This one came to a sell-off, but some would argue that we're still in a bull run. So these things typically in history do good for the entire market. So, the merge is a big event. If we look at the total number of transactions to ETH2 deposit contract, if you don't know what this is, basically they created a deposit address to allow people to take advantage of staking early on. And the gold standard of this deposit contract address is solo home staking. You basically have to contribute 32 ETH. And it allows you to get the rewards when it actually comes out. So this is just showing, this deposit contract address is just showing how many people are contributing. And you can see it's clearly moving up, and it doesn't really show too many signs of decline. You can see it's kind of curving, but since it started, it's been fairly consistent people contributing 32 ETH to the solo staking contract address. Now, very interesting. And again, one thing I wanted to point out from the beginning of the video is like straight up, guys, search term doesn't lie, and people are very interested in NFTs and Ethereum. They're the two largest search terms. I believe if we look at crypto, obviously, besides Bitcoin, Bitcoin's the largest, but if we look at crypto, that's kind of up there as well. So, we're getting really close. I think the combination of all three is going to eventually pass Bitcoin. And then, yeah, people are going to get really interested in other projects like they always have. But Ethereum is definitely the starting point for most of them. Now, we know that Ethereum has changed so many different times. It's kind of hard to believe what they're going to do next. They even rebranded ETH 2.0 to now calling it the execution layer, which I think was smart. But they keep pushing the date back. So what I want to talk about really briefly is their old plan versus their new plan. At one point, they were going to roll out more than just, switching from proof of work to proof of stake. They were actually going to roll out sharding and helping with the throughput and scalability. But they're taking it slow. I think this is very important. And again, I'm not a developer in any way, shape, or form, but what I do know is scaling is really, really important, especially when your network is really big. They have the most decentralized application. They have the most developers, the most infrastructure. You can't just make monumental changes very fast. This is a con to having a big business, but they're doing it very slow. They're trying to fix this branding issue, which is, of course, proof of work is very expensive, very environmentally damaging, right? Very, very bad, I think personally. In the long run. I don't think it's black and white either, though. I think there's, definitely cases to make for proof of work being a good thing for money, right, for Bitcoin. I know Bitcoin uses a lot of energy, and people have made the case over and over again. It's like really bad for the environment. But there's people like Jack Dorsey that always talks positive about Bitcoin's environmental impact. There's some people that justify it with the simple fact that the amount of value it's generating for Earth is worth how much destruction it causes to the environment. But there's other ways to justify what Bitcoin's doing. Actually, Kathy Wood from ARK Invest dropped a report that basically showed that Bitcoin mining is enabling renewables to meet a higher percentage of the grid demand at a constant cost of electricity. So basically saying Bitcoin is allowing for renewable energies. It's not black and white. There's certain things that Bitcoin does well that others don't. But I do think for everything else, it's probably bad. So proof of stake, getting off of that, and I think the overall push, I titled this video, they're not fixing transaction fees. They're not fixing it on the main chain, but what they're doing is they're pushing people to layer 2 technologies, right? So they're fixing the branding of Ethereum with proof of stake, and then they're pushing everybody to the layer 2 as a scalable solution for people to adopt right now. And then in the future, they'll get the sharding on the main chain. I think that's the point that a lot of people are missing, is they're doing it slow, steady, right? These things last long periods of time. Bitcoin's been out for not even 2 decades, right? So, you don't want to force things. It's like you got to think in like 50-year time horizons, like 50, 30, 40-year time horizons, 10-year time horizons, not like what's going to happen tomorrow. And I think that's a lot of the reason why people are like, oh, there's other blockchains that are currently solving the transaction fees. Again, but they're still missing all of the infrastructure, and I think it's important to recognize that. So this was kind of the old historic plan where they were going to come out with the proof of stake, data sharding, and then the executable shards, which this will solve the fees, but they switched it to this, right? So they pushed up this proof of work agenda to help solve some of the narratives that are going on right now, because they are very strong. They are like very, very damaging to Ethereum. Proof of work is damaging to Ethereum. So they're going to try to solve it today, and eventually they're going to come out with data sharding and solving the fees in the future. But there's obviously a big push. So as you can see here, the merge will not solve scalability challenges right away, but it's set to pave a way for sharding to improve data availability and bandwidth. Users should look to rollups and layer 2s to scale immediately with lower gas fees. So it was never something to fix the fees, at least in the near term. So yeah, it's happening, guys. Ethereum's growing, I think, the way it should be. I think it's managed effectively, and slow, steady wins the race in some cases. You don't want to break something like this. It can destroy the entire market. It can destroy the entire market. If you look at users and adoption, if Ethereum, like I know a lot of people want Ethereum to fail, but if it does, everything else will likely fail. And I don't think people recognize it for what it is. Like I know people want, the crypto to pass Bitcoin. But if you pass Bitcoin, like there's a lot of things, there's gonna be a lot of issues that arise from that. So I think everything's playing the way it should be. It's playing its place. Ethereum's upgrading, but slow and steady because it has so much infrastructure. Bitcoin's playing, as its money, right? Being a superior form of money and very expensive to produce, right? These things, they have advantages that other coins don't have. So let's talk about some rollups. If we are not solving the transaction cost on Ethereum, they're going to be pushing people over to layer twos or roll-up solutions. There's all types of roll-up solutions. It's basically compression technology, similar but not the same to when you zip a file on your computer. And we have optimistic roll-ups, zero knowledge roll-ups, state channels. All different types of scaling solutions will probably be used to help scale Ethereum and the whole entire ecosystem. There are very interesting things that are coming out of the world of rollups and the new technologies happening that can merge with Ethereum. So basically, they were at one point trying to do sharding, but they've come up with ways to batch transactions, right? So the current plan is to first have it exposed to a new transaction type called EIP 4844, which has a full website, and we're going to go over what this is. And then eventually they're going to roll out like more sophisticated versions of rollups. Right now they have the proto dank sharding. So basically it introduces a new transaction type where it puts it into blogs. It's kind of like compression. It's like a compression technology. All rollups are very similar compression technology to where you could have the main chain and the finality and the history of all transactions with the speed, right? So rollups are the short and medium term and possibility in the long term, the only trustless scaling solution for Ethereum. Transaction fees on layer one are very high for months, and there's a greater urgency in doing anything required to help facilitate an ecosystem-wide move to rollups. Rollups are significantly reducing fees for many Ethereum users. Optimism and Arbitrum frequently provide fees that are 3 to 8 times lower than Ethereum base layer, and ZK rollups, which have better data compression and can avoid including signatures, have 40 to 100x lower than the base layer. However, even these fees are too expensive for many users. So basically the long-term solution themselves have always been data sharding, which we were talking about before, which will add 16 megabytes per block of the dedicated data space to the chain. But data sharding is going to take a lot of time. So what they're doing is they're doing this compression technology for now to make things happen right now. Well, let's talk about some of these compression technologies. You can go to l2beat.com, but you can see a lot of them. Arbitrum, DYDX, we've talked about these before, Loopring. All of these coins, or not all of them, but a lot of them are significantly down. Some of them down 80%. I think Loopring is down right now 77.33%. So maybe some good accumulation zones because I know what's going to happen as they get closer to the merge. A lot of people are going to start researching these things. Now, this is kind of like the investor narrative. It's not like real. Like, I don't think there's a serious amount of users using Loopring or Arbitrum at this moment in time. But what I do think is that people are going to speculate on that like they always do, right? It's like not a real use case now, but they're going to speculate that it will be a use case. So we could see a run up on layer 2 technologies. I mean, we already saw a lot of adoption from layer 2s, like the GameStop, adopting Loopring and DYDX and Immutable X and all of these, partnerships and them moving into NFTs. We've been seeing this over and over again. This is the GameStop beta where you can actually connect and they have, partnerships with Immutable X and $100 million grant program. We're seeing it build up right now. They're building these partnerships, they're developing things to benefit layer 2. So I do think there's going to be a huge push towards layer 2s. It's just a question of which ones are going to be good. Arbitrum actually just came out with a full-featured DevNet built on Ethereum's testnet, which they claim that they've made the best and most detailed rollup stack ever and enables higher throughput and lower fees, right? So we see these things coming out, and I think it's important to pay attention to them. Just kind of like some recent advancements is we have Arbitrum coming out with Nitro. So that's like alpha. It can come out very soon. Polygon's Avel is designed to build data availability layer for rollups. So we have Polygon making moves, and there's a lot of money invested in these projects. So I do believe in them. And then we also have, of course, Terra Luna trying to becoming, the stablecoin foundation by purchasing, Avalanche and Bitcoin. Look, I think the future of cryptocurrency is going to be a multiverse. I think the adoption of these technologies will ultimately tell us where it's going to go in the future. So it's really a game of just playing and being involved in DeFi, being involved in crypto, not sectioning yourself off to one ecosystem and using them all. And eventually, the best ones will come to light. Whether it's layer twos for the future and layer twos are the answer. Whether it's another layer one coming and beating everything. Whether it's data sharding on Ethereum mainnet itself. All of these have valid use cases, but the point I'm trying to make is you must start using them. You must start getting involved with all of them so you can understand which ones are adopted for what reasons, and don't get left behind. Definitely understand what's going on. Solana goes EVM with Neon, right? As you can see, Solana has their own thing going on. So yeah, I think it's going to be a multiverse. If you ask me, I think it's going to be all different types of blockchains working together, interoperability, and I think it's beautiful. So yeah. Check out Ethereum Merge. Do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Educate yourself. If you like the quality of this content, hit like. If you don't, leave some constructive criticism. Subscribe for more video updates. And like I always say, if you don't get with it, you will get left behind. Thanks for watching this, guys. Catch you in the next one.